All right, guys, welcome to podcast number 19. Today, we're really just going to be talking about our story here. So the past, the present, and the future of CrossFit Grandview. So for those of you who are new and maybe haven't got to hear our story or haven't really heard about it, I'm going to be chatting about that and then kind of talking about where I plan on going with this whole thing in the future. So I'll kind of just start off with where I started. When I graduated from college, I was sub-teaching, and my mom knew a lady who had a son-in-law who was starting a gym and needed a trainer, and they knew I was into fitness and training. So I started doing some strength and conditioning with kids at this gym back in 2007. So I was doing that and substitute teaching, looking for a teaching job. And that kind of evolved into us training their parents. And kind of during this time, I was looking more and more into CrossFit. It actually got on my radar way back in like 2005 when I was in college. And I kept diving deeper and deeper into it. And I figured out, I'd see these videos. I'm like, this is a really cool way to train a group of people. So at the time, we were kind of doing like this hybrid functional fitness, like balancing on balls, athletic enhancement, like speed ladders, Vertimax, and sports performance, starting to do a little weightlifting type stuff. But the further we got into it, the more it just started turning into CrossFit until it was just, that's what we did. We just did full on CrossFit by the end of my run there. So I did that for about 2.5 years while I was substitute teaching. And during that time, Rogue Fitness was the CrossFit gym in town, but it was kind of an underground gym. CrossFit really wasn't on the national radar at the time. But they started selling some equipment out of the gym, and myself and another coach would go over and buy equipment from time to time. And their gym was pretty busy during the classes they did have. They probably ran 5 classes a day. But I remember a trip in there was like 2 people in a class, and it just looked tired.
It's probably Caroline.
Yeah, she probably was. It's probably Caroline and Doc who are still with us. And so myself and the other coach at the time, Graham, sent an email over asking them if they needed a manager or a couple trainers to come in and bring the place back to life. And they were like, yeah, come over here tomorrow and meet us. And so between our training sessions, we went over there and met them, and they basically let us know that they were moving out to where Rogue was up until, I think, 2017 or 18.
Steelwood?
Yep. Steelwood facility. They were moving there, and they still had, I think, about 8 or 9 months left on a lease. And if we wanted to take over the lease and purchase the equipment, they'd give us some time to do it because we were both broke. We didn't have any money. It was funny. We were like going in trying to get SBA loans, and we had like the exact same like horrendous financial records. It was like $1,500 in a checking account, $5,000 a piece in credit card debt, and we both had like $30,000 in student loans. And both of our assets were cars that were worth under $2,000.
Yeah. We're good for it.
Yeah. So we both had like
it's the Step Brothers scene.
Exactly. We both had like $35,000 in debt and like $1,500 to our name. We didn't have shit going on. But eventually we were able to like buy the equipment out and do a little slow grow of that affiliate. So when we took it over, we really went all in. We were like team teaching classes with 4 people. It'd be both of us in there at the same time, like team coaching it. I got probably about a dozen people I went to high school with to come on in. It was actually a really fun period because we were at the gym, both of us there, like 12, 13 hours a day. There was only a couple classes in there, maybe 4 classes. During that time, we'd do like a couple classes, couple elements, and then we were just in the gym just tinkering around learning CrossFit, basically. We're a couple years into it, But, we do a workout, coach some classes, then go split jerk, come back out, coach some classes. And we were young, really into it. It was a super fun time. And then I did know, though, like we had a really crappy location, at least I thought it was. We're back in like a old office park in Gahanna. People really had to seek us out. And part of what was cool about it, though, is like the people who did come were kind of hardcore. They knew like it was like a kind of almost like an underground cool thing. So the people we got, a lot of them wanted to like compete in CrossFit. And I remember like coaching a class and thinking back like a year after that class, I'm like, wow, we had like 8 people in a class. Like a few of them went to regionals. That person went on to do like grid. Like there'd be like 6 out of 10 people were like some sort of high level competitor just in like a regular class. But we got really into the sport aspect of CrossFit during those years. That was like our main focus. We were like, especially my business partner Graham, he went on to win the games on that first year. I was really trying my hardest to like compete in CrossFit at the time. Like between 2009 and 12, we went to the games a couple times as teams, and then we had a year that we just did regionals, but we were like a spot out of making it in the games. We had a year where we had a trifecta where it was a guy, a girl, and a team.
I think that's the year I heard about the gym.
Yeah.
It was all 3.
Yep, we had all 3.
I believe no, they've done that now. Never mind. Invictus and people.
Yeah, it's happened before, but it's not like it's not a common thing. And with the resources we had, especially
that was hard to do back then.
Oh yeah, I mean it was like to
have that many people do muscle ups.
And that was the thing. So the coolest thing, I think one of the coolest things about that year was we had on our team, on our actual, so on our regional team, we didn't have a regional qualifier. So we had 6 people. It was a 6-person team. No one qualified through the open.
Which was 60.
Which was 60 back then, much easier to make it. So
not
everyone
that
was.
Many people were with another Central East.
Yeah, everyone was outside of the top 60 through the open. But the one thing we always harped on and do to this day was skills, and we drilled those skills, and we came into regionals and we were able to flow through the workouts and made it back. We tied for second place, but. I think Maximus had a higher finish. They might have won an event, and so they got
every year.
They knocked us. Yeah, they knocked us back to third. But yeah, so we had 3 guy, girl, and a team all in an affiliate too. This isn't like an Invictus that has like a national following.
Recruiting.
People are coming out there and living in like rented houses and stuff. Like we had it was all locally homegrown in an affiliate under 100 members. So I still take a lot of pride in that, especially I didn't have anything to do with the individuals, but I coached that team up, and I'm really proud of that team because I think we overachieved that year, not having any regional qualifiers and making it in. So, but just with the history of the gym, kind of right when I started, I knew we weren't in a good location, and I wanted to move it into Grandview. I was young at the time. I still went and ran around a little bit, and I'd always go and hang out in Grandview. And I'm like, this is the spot. Like, this is where I want to move the gym. We're right in the middle of the city. So back as far as like a year into it, I was driving around Grandview by myself, looking at buildings all the time.
Just driving through shady neighborhoods, looking at warehouses.
Absolutely. And I found one. It was random at like on a Sunday, and it wasn't me driving around. I was on like this realty website, and I found the building we're in now. And it was like cold outside. It was like 11 o'clock on Sunday. I jumped in my car, drove 25 minutes, like got out in the parking lot at like 11:30 at night, and I'm like, holy crap, this is the spot. So that was kind of how I found the spot what we're in now, and probably 8 or 9 months later is actually when we moved in there into that spot. And that is right when, you were there, within the first week or two?
It wasn't long. Because I remember seeing the thing on Facebook when you moved. And it wasn't long after
Yep.
I started driving down.
Yep, that was awesome. Yeah, I remember you right away. I was like, who's this dude?
Cause,
Crushing handstand push-ups over here.
2012, and then I started coaching 2013.
Yeah. Did you coach? Yeah, I'm trying to remember.
I coached Saturdays. Yeah, I coached Saturdays because Graham used to coach Saturdays. And then finally, decided, I don't want to work 6 days a week anymore.
Sure.
So, I started coaching Saturdays, and then I guess I just stayed after that.
Yeah, and Dan was our first.
So Dan was the first intern.
Yeah, Dan was our intern back at Rogue, and Dan was our first coach, and he took over mornings. He even did some evening stuff, so Dan was working a lot. We all were. And then Kiri came on.
She was doing Sundays.
Yeah, because Kiri was doing Sundays, and then after she had Mila, she came on full-time.
Yeah.
So, right in that 2013, that was kind of when we got our whole core group, a lot of which is everyone's pretty much still around in some capacity, but you, Dan, Kiri, Ariel, Katie, Joey.
It's just Joey because he's gone.
Yeah. We're all in the gym around that time and kind of formed that foundation.
I remember calling Joey on his phone and be like, hey, do you want to quit your job?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Would you quit your job?
I remember doing that kind of with you too.
Yeah, would you quit your job? Sure.
I was in that Starbucks on Owen Tangi calling you hey, do you want to quit your job and move to Columbus?
And move down. Sure.
I remember you wanted to drive down for a while.
I did for a week.
Yeah.
And that stopped.
I think I threw some cash in your hand and said,
I was just I'll
put this down on an apartment or something.
I would turn around and come right back. Turn around, come back.
Yeah, that wasn't going to work forever. But yeah, this was a cool time with the gym. Right around this time, not too far, we had been in the gym for about a year. And me and my business partner at the time, Graham, we had taken over the Rogue gym. We basically followed their playbook while we were there. We were just young. We didn't have a vision outside of just we want to work out and train people. But once we got to Grandview, we could pretty soon we could see we didn't want to do things the same way. The gym didn't quite have an identity yet. It was just we are a CrossFit gym with plain walls.
A typical one.
Yeah, it was just a plain old CrossFit gym, and he wanted to do one thing, I wanted to do another. We stalemated. We decided it was best to split, so we split. He took off and opened his own gym, and that's where I really feel CrossFit Grandview started to find its identity. I started to dive into education on running an affiliate and professionalizing the business. Started doing weekly staff meetings. I got you guys salaried around then. Started to have full focus coaches, not piecing it together with part-time guys, how I had seen CrossFit gyms do before.
Still do.
Yeah. And then a big thing was too is I'd always envisioned the gym. I'm we're in this young, fun, hip part of town. I'm I want to start doing social events and all of this stuff, and that became and still is a huge part of our gym, doing the big parties and all of that. It was something that I could dive in and actually allocate money towards and doing things like that. And
in most gyms, they'll do their stuff at the gym, which is awesome. You do stuff at the gym, but we're actually in the community, so
yeah,
giving back in that way of we go to what, Jimmy's? We go to try to help out the members and
yeah, absolutely.
We'll take our parties out.
Yeah, with Dylan and Oddfellows, we were always trying to give them,
having parties at the gym is cool, but if we can hook other people up,
absolutely, give people business who give us business. So, do our parties there, and Joe Bittinger, he's opening a distillery. I was I invested to be a little founder to get on the bar seat and.
Rum, right?
I think they're doing gin.
There's a gin.
Yeah. But I think they'll do a few different types of liquor. They're just going to do their first batch coming out.
There we go.
Pretentious. Yeah, I think that's on your computer right there. So we always try and go out there and support them. And they're a great business. I think that's entirely staffed through CrossFit Grandview members.
I think they're all members, yeah.
Yep. All current or former.
Almost.
Yeah. During this time, man, we had explosive growth too. So it was a little bit different time in the group fitness scene. We were, one of the first, I would say, like group fitness classes in the area. And I think in the first few months, first 2 months, we put on like 100 new members when we moved to Grandview. We were one of the first 5 gyms, I think, to do Wattify. They actually reached out to us. I had no idea what it was. They flew in like the guys who are like executives there now.
Those TVs finally just broke. It's been what, 6 years?
7.
7 years.
Yeah,
and those
7
TVs
years.
finally just broke.
We still have some of them.
Yeah, they're still
order.
going.
It was kind of a transition period for the team and the sport of CrossFit. So like, I was part of like our early teams, like personally, but also like the guys and the girls who were on those early teams were starting to either age out or like I think like the kind of just the athletic curve of the sport was starting to change. And I was part of that early change where it was like, okay, the game is different and I'm not set up for this. And
or like in Joey's case, he just finally put 40 pounds on.
Yeah.
He just finally caught up.
So, I mean, just the nature of the sport and like especially like the team aspect of the sport. Like if I look back at the earlier years of like team CrossFit, it was a different game, like a completely different sport. Like you could sub people in and out. Like you could have like a strong guy on your team. You could hide like
a Julianne.
Yeah, you could just hide people who weren't good at certain moves, or like it was just a completely different thing where as it like kept progressing, like you had to be really rock solid with everything, and then the weights just got super heavy.
And then you had to be an individual.
Yeah, the weights got heavy. Like you had to be a really good competitive overall CrossFitter. So during this time, we had a little transition where we had regional teams still, but we didn't make the games. And then we really put an emphasis 2014 leading into 15 on like, okay, we're going to train together as a team. We are going to hammer modern skills for CrossFit and make a run.
Completely new team.
It was
14 to 15, yeah. I was the only one.
So we had Mike and Kiri. And
but on
you
14, I think I was the only one.
14, you were the only
Tyler,
one.
myself.
Yep. And Mike.
No, it was Mike and I were still left.
Yep. So Mike kind of was like a bridge from
Louisa,
the old. Yep. Louisa was in there. But we kind of had phased out like myself, Alex, and Phil.
Yeah, and Kiri was an individual in 14, so was Joey.
Yep. So we were changing out guys during that time. Louisa was kind of like a mainstay. But yeah, it was really a new team.
Shoot, Dan was the alternate that year.
Dan was an alternate, yep. And then, so moving into 15, like you guys started like winning lots of like local competitions, regional kind of team competitions. So we had a ton of momentum, and it was good timing because it kind of coincided with the super regional. Had it just been an old school Central East regional, I think we would have walked through it.
Oh, yeah.
And made it, and probably behind Mayhem, but we would have made it in second.
That winter Chelsea came on.
Yeah.
And then, we were rolling then.
I think we would have made it easily through like our old Central East regional, but that super regional ended up turning into the hardest team region that there ever was. I mean, it was like the top 10 teams at the games were all right there. Battling.
4 of us were in the top 10?
4 out of 5 that year were top 10, including the winner.
The winner.
Uh-huh. And, I mean, there was teams that got 6th and 7th that would have been top 15, in that region. And then the next year when we didn't punch through. So we kept that team together for another year. When we got 8th.
We had Austin.
Yeah, so we switched Mike out for Austin. But when we got there, everyone
was just ridiculous.
Everyone had doubled down.
That was ridiculous.
Everyone had doubled down, like all these old individuals, like Kyle Casper.
That was the year. That was the year because the teams were just absolutely ridiculous.
The team division was harder than the individual.
Like, that was ridiculous.
Yeah.
We finished that snatch ladder and got 7th.
Yeah. All of our dudes
All
hit
3 guys hit
265.
265, and we got 7th. 9th in the world. 7th at the Central East, or the Central region.
Yeah. So that was kind of like, that wrapped up like kind of our 2.0 team right there. Like, after that, people were kind of cooked for a little bit on like.
And we just saw like, oh my God.
Yeah.
What is it? Whoa.
It was professional teams
Yeah.
who were going against, like, we had gotten together every weekend on top of the weekly training, doing worm practices. And what was really disheartening was going out to regionals in 17. And then it was all
Worms everywhere, yeah.
I'm like, oh, we put all our poker chips in that basket. Like,
but if you got to the
year
games,
before.
we were good at the worm at the games. So.
Well, that's what we were doing. We were banking on making it to the games and trying to win all the worm events and trying to podium because we're like, I don't think we can beat like Mayhem in Olympic weightlifting and muscle ups.
Ooh.
So we might have a shot at worms.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, so we kind of moving on from that. You know, during this time too was cool. Like, the business was expanding. Like, we built out like a really legit supplement shop and sort of our member management place with the Athletes Corner. We added barbell and new programs that were outside of CrossFit with Rev and Power Hour.
The original barbell we picked up from Rogue in Dan's van. And then drove it over there, all the equipment.
Yeah, we did.
Dan's original van, we drove it all over there.
We didn't have, there
I
wasn't
still have the picture.
Well, it was nice because it was so close. But yeah, we just picked stuff up, made a couple trips.
But no, all of barbell fit into his van.
We bottomed that thing out. Yeah.
And now it's huge.
Yeah, so we did all that kind of between like 2014 and 16, got all that stuff together.
That's when Joey started doing full-time, right?
Joey started right when we started barbell,
yeah.
because that was his job, was initially to like pretty much handle all the stuff at barbell. And then kind of what happened during like post 2016, where I started to really see, I wanted to kind of further, like as far as the training went, separate the style of training a little bit from like our competition side and our general population side. Maybe some of it was just me aging with training because I'd been doing it for a decade or so and having different goals and having a family and not putting like all of my every single bit of energy into just training and trying to get as fit as possible. I'm like, okay, the goal needs to be a little different here. So we started to separate it, and it started to really, you know, what you're seeing is really worked too, where I think we're overloading athletes for a little while. I actually looked at some stuff we were doing in like 2014 or 15, like an all level. I'm like, this is level 2 without ring muscle ups and handstand walks. It was like a full strength, a WOD, and then like GHD sit ups and stuff at the end. I'm like,
good hour and a half of work.
Yeah, it was. It was like a ton of work, and it was just too much volume. It was overloading athletes. You know, the way we currently do things, we can – what I love about it is – because I still see that as almost like a sickness at affiliates. Like, they'll be like, CrossFit's for everyone, and it is literally like a straight competition program without like, you know, handstand walking and ring muscle ups. And I'm like – what I've kind of seen is, and then they'll introduce it like anyone can do it, and then it just overloads athletes, they get injured, and it's not what they thought. And they actually start, what I've actually seen a lot is they don't try that hard because they're like, I got to make it through this 90-minute car wash of stuff. I can't push hard, so they just
gas pedal.
Yeah, they just go at like 60%. And what I've really noticed in our classes and what people will say is like it's really hard here. And I'm like, actually the what's written on the board is not anywhere near as hard as where you're coming from. It's just the intent and the intensity and the effort people put in because they're able to is much greater, and they get that really good CrossFit effect. They learn how to go fast.
The easy ones are the hard ones.
Yep. They learn how to go fast, and they learn how to go hard, and they learn how to do it with good technique. And getting back to doing that has been so cool. Injuries are like down by like a tenth of what we had before. People are all in better shape, and they're sticking around for years. So it's been cool. So like 10 years in, kind of where we stand now, you know, we're a much more mature gym, I think. You know, we're not trying to grow by 50 members a month now. It's not like we don't do challenges to like bait and switch people and get them to do CrossFit and like trick them into it. Like it's like a fluffy muffin fat burn challenge. And then we're like, oh, and then you transition from this into like Olympic weightlifting, like, and then you churn clients. Like people know what they're getting into here. We do safe and efficient, but we do CrossFit, and that's what we do. We're not sugarcoating it. We are the gym to come to if you want to do CrossFit. Like, that's what we do. We cater to people who want to do CrossFit style training. And we stand on our brand, you know, so that's what we do.
We've all been doing it for, how long has Dan been doing CrossFit?
I mean, we've all been doing it 10 years.
Yeah, so
you know, we're all a decade in.
And still going.
So big part.
That's how much we believe in it.
Absolutely. Like a big part of it is like, so like example, me and you, like a lot of people, I think what happens, and I'm not trying to like shit on people, but we're not resting on like, oh, we've been doing this for a long time. Like me and you, we've been going back and getting educated. Like we both got our level 3s. Dan's going to get his within the next month.
So CrossFit every night sends out a, what do they call it, the email of the day?
Yep.
And I read those every night before I go to bed. So just still.
Yeah.
There's new stuff out there every day.
Yeah, this is like what we do. Like we're professional CrossFit coaches.
For better or worse.
Absolutely. You know, people are like, I don't like CrossFit.
That's what I do.
I'm getting away from that, and we're going to like do our own style of training, but kind of say it's not I don't know. So we're sticking with it. But I think a cool thing is we've been able to add offerings, like really high level offerings. Our nutrition side of the business, the body biz, I think is certainly, you know, locally is going to be your top end, most popular, full on nutrition company. You know, they're mostly local. They're not WAG where they're going like nationwide, but locally, like those are the nutrition coaches that people go see. You know, we have Lauren, who's a dietitian, Kate, who started the business. We have Dan doing it now, who's like helping personalize training protocols for the clients. It's a really cool personalized business. And then really recently, Mandy, who was working with Active PT, has moved over and is coming on full-time. So we're going to have full-time in-house physical therapy at CrossFit Grandview, which is an awesome offering. So if anyone ever gets tweaked up or they're just not moving the right way, we have a physical therapist that you can work with in-house, you know, full-time. How long is
she there?
She's, what, active?
Like the days.
She comes in 5 days a week. I think Monday through Friday.
Yeah.
She may do she'll come in like open workouts, but yeah, she's there, and you know,
talk to her.
Yeah, talk to her. She's kept me super healthy. Like I had a couple years back in 2015, 16 where I was just kind of had some stuff that I thought was chronic injuries, and once I started working with Mandy, you know, I've done 4 opens in a row, and I felt pretty dang good, you know, for the last 4 years. So she is a huge part of that. Helps me move better, helps me activate muscles that I wasn't using, keeps me rocking and rolling. So moving into the future. So just kind of what we're looking at in the future. One thing I want you guys to know, you know, moving 10 years and beyond, we plan on offering what we're offering, like awesome CrossFit. We're working on refining our product, making our classes a lot better. We're making them, the training protocols cooler. Like, we're really working on like just dialing in our product. We're not worried about scaling to 1 million gyms or anything like that. We're trying to just get really good at what we do. There's a documentary on Netflix. I think it's like Eero does something with sushi that I saw a couple years ago. But this guy is like a master sushi chef, and it goes through his whole process, and he's super meticulous. But when I watched that, I started to think of myself like that with a CrossFit affiliate. Like, he doesn't have 1 million sushi restaurants. He has one that's like booked out for 3 years. And there's like 5 seats there. It's really cool. But it's just getting really good at your craft. So that's what I've really wanted to do with our gym. And moving into the future, I don't think anything that you see that's on the menu is going away anytime soon. But what I do want to work on adding, short term, you guys are going to see the gym looking nicer. We're upgrading the locker rooms, painting everything, upgrading equipment. We're just trying to make everything look really sharp, not leaving any stone unturned. So the locker rooms have been like kind of a little bit of a perpetual eyesore, and we're going to make that look really nice for you guys. Really clean, really nice. And then long term, what I've really been researching and looking into doing is turning CrossFit Grandview and scaling the business, but from an online perspective. So getting into individual design, which we do offer through the gym, and we're kind of starting that business through our gym members, and we're currently doing some of that in-house. Doing more cycled templated programming, kind of like our OLI program that we're currently doing in 6-week cycles. Programming for other affiliates. So whether that's individual custom programming, or also just them following what we do and then like laying out warm-ups and things like that. So we're currently doing it with a gym in Colorado, but we want to expand that offering as well. And then also looking at doing an official on-site program for coaches development. So we've had an internship thing that we've done for years, and that's where a lot of our coaches have came from, like Arlie. Dan was one of them.
Speaking of that, Dean just became a constable.
I saw that.
Yeah, so another intern.
Is that a Mountie?
Yeah, it's whatever the Canadian cop is, I believe.
Yeah.
I don't have a better term for
like a provisional
Canadian cop. Yeah.
Provisional constable.
Yeah.
Yes, that's awesome. Yeah, so if you guys remember Dean.
So our other intern became a Canadian cop.
He's crushing it up there in Canada. I think he's getting married, bought a house. Yeah. It's awesome. Dean,
that's just what our internship will bring you.
Yeah, we miss you. So our internship, we're really looking at like making it an official coaching development program, not just offering it to like college students, but offering it to anyone who's looking at professionalizing themselves as a CrossFit coach, and then through that having job placement services. So you would go through that program, and then whether it was you were working with us or another CrossFit gym in town, we would be able to place you, almost guaranteed place you with a job. So that's what I'm really starting to work on, some of that stuff. You guys can look for some of that stuff to be rolled out as soon as like next week. We're going to have like the website updated, and some of those offerings are going to be placed up there. But I'm basically starting next year, I'm going to go back to school. I'm going to get my CCP through OPEX and really learn the business side and the programming side of like the individual design, so I can pass that down to our coaches and really dial in that program for you guys. So those are some offerings you can look at in the future, kind of moving forward with CrossFit. I'm not completely opposed to scaling and doing another brick and mortar facility, but it would have to be the perfect opportunity. I'm not like forcing. That's not like the plan. Like, okay, I need to go into a office park and throw up, you know, the 43rd CrossFit gym in Columbus. Like, it would have to be a perfect opportunity. I'd want like a standalone building. I've always thought it would be cool if you had like land in the back to do like a kind of like a obstacle racing kind of like course in the back and like teach that. And it'd have to be something extremely unique. I don't want to just say it's CrossFit Grandview 2 and that's what we're doing. So
tore the apartments down, we'd have it.
Yeah, exactly. That'd be pretty cool. So guys, next week the Open starts. So kind of moving forward, the Open starts. I know we had an Open 6 months ago, and some of you guys may be fatigued from that. I think, though, we're going to be offering the Open workouts on Fridays, our class workout. It's not going to hurt you to throw your hat in there and maybe throw your score in. It's fun, even if you're not taking it super seriously. I know, like, me personally, I'm just doing it. I always use it as a way to test myself. So my goal is, I'm certainly not qualifying for anything, but it's a cool way year to year to see where my fitness is at. And it's been cool. Like in 2018, like I had some weaknesses on a couple Open workouts, and I somewhat filled those gaps and did a little better on some of those workouts that were similar to that in 2019. So it was a cool way for me to assess where I was at currently and then improve on things. We are going to do teams. And then I talked to Ashley and Greg, and they were looking for people for their team. So I'm on their team with Nimesh. So we have a team together, but I need you guys to send me your teams, nominate a captain, and it's just 4-person teams. They can all be guys. They can all be girls. They can be a mix of both. Send me those. The way we're going to run it is Friday, all day in class. Saturdays, the days we don't have like OSU games at noon, we will have our assistant coach running heats in the back of the room away from the WOD at 11:30. We will not have open gym during this time. So if you plan on you like to do open gym at 11:30, don't plan on doing that in the back. We'll be running the open WOD during that time.
Wake up a little earlier.
Yeah.
At 11:30.
Yep. Sunday, cancel on 1:30 class. And then we'll run heats until we finish up. 3 p.m. we're just cutting it off. So usually that ends up taking an hour or so, but we'll run heats then. And then Monday, your last chance is going to be from 1 to 3:30. If none of those times work, just send an email in. We can get you judged. We'll figure it out. Don't plan on doing it at 5:30 on Monday night, though. That is not the time to do it.
But if you're working out on Friday, you might as well.
Yeah, 100%.
It's fun. It's only $20. Some people complain, oh, it's $20, but I mean, it's only $20.
Yeah, they're like, I don't want to give CrossFit $20.
I never understand that. Like, I'm not giving CrossFit more money. Like, it's $20.
It's not. Yeah, it's not.
It's fine. It'll be fine. You'll be fine.
It's not a lot of money.
But yeah, if you're gonna work out those 5 weeks, I mean, it's a good little leaderboard.
Absolutely, it's fun.
See if you can beat Matt Frazier.
Exactly. I
like it because you get to see what Matt Frazier gets, and you're like, oh wow.
That's what's incredible now.
Like, these guys are feeling some pain.
You see, like, him and, like, Pat Vellner and,
get
like,
a better respect, I guess, of what they do.
Dudes doing that, and they're doing, like, 150 more reps on a workout than you are, and you're like, man,
Then you can relate because you're like, I touched that pace for a second, and wow, they held it.
They held that pace for 12 minutes.
Like a robot.
And you like, I've done workouts where they're like, I get smoked by like 100 reps or something on it. Like, I only remember twice in the workout where I took a breath.
Yeah.
Like, where I just sat there with my hands on my knees or something. I'm like, I felt like I moved the whole time. How did they do that? It's pretty cool.
So maybe that's not fun, but it's fun.
It's fun. It's fun. It's a fun test. I love it now because I've been doing it since 2011, and I have, like, years of data on it, and it's just neat to, like, one thing I love about it is, like, all the guys I started with, most of them don't even do CrossFit anymore. So I'm like, man, it's cool that I've been consistent with this for this long, and I'm racking up years of doing this. And then for me, like, I think everyone can do this. Like, I remember Blaze was talking about, he's like, I'm the 12th fittest nurse in Ohio. Like, you can find, like, a leaderboard in there. like for me, I always use like that 35 to 39, and I like use my percentile. I'm like, oh, cool. I was like 94th percentile or 95th percentile in my age group. So I'm not competing against Matt Frazier. Like I'm thousands of places away from him. But I'm like, oh, cool. In my age group, I'm better than that amount of people. Like that's pretty neat. That made me kind of feel good. Yeah. Yeah, it just makes you, it gives you like some sort of like way to judge yourself against others. It's a neat way to do that. And what I always tell people, I'm like, if you can complete all 5 workouts, you're going to beat half the field. Do all 5 workouts, you beat half the field. That's an accomplishment in itself, because most people
4 and 5 are a little bit. People drop off.
Yeah, they're done.
Especially the last one.
It's going to be tough for me. I think I have a trip planned week 4. I will have to get up at like 4 in the morning and do it in the 5:30 class, and then jump on a plane for the weekend, come back jet lagged and tired, and then like go into the last week of that. That trio 4 and 5 is going to be tough. Everyone has a week like that. You might get a cold or something. It's like you have to kind of fight through some adversity.
Or pneumonia.
Yeah. Pneumonia, 2014. 2014, the plague swept our gym. Everyone got so sick.
Carrie couldn't work.
You couldn't work?
Yeah, I coughed I was keeping Lindsay up because I was coughing.
I got pneumonia.
I had bronchitis. It was just terrible. It was terrible.
That's the sickest I've ever been in my life.
Wanting to pass out on the chest to bars, like just looking at the lights and closing my eyes doing chest to bars.
I remember catching the snatch on that workout.
It was terrible.
And yeah, that was
But that's
bad.
kind of good why this new format's there, because you just like, oh, screw it, I just won't do the open.
Sure.
Back then, you're like, I have to do this with bronchitis.
Yeah, I don't care.
Great.
I might die.
Great.
I might die to get my placement on
the
open.
You get 5 reps and get able to go to the regionals.
I remember though, like that year, it was like our like gym score was like a little bit noticeably down because
we had a team, and I mean, if you wanted to get on the team, you had to be top 3 out of the open. So I mean,
you're
take
doing
a
them.
workout off.
You're doing
if you had bronchitis, you had to go.
That was horrible. The other announcement that I have is our 10-year anniversary party is coming up December 13th. So one thing I did this year, I think we had it a little earlier, like 5 to 9. I kicked everything back. I believe it's 6 to 10 this year, 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. So we'll be able to stay a little later. It's going to be this is going to be our biggest one. So this is 10-year anniversary. This is going to be an awesome party. So we do it at the View in Columbus. We'll keep announcing stuff as it's coming. But we essentially throw a wedding without the wedding and cater a bunch of food in. We have a DJ and dancing, drinks. I'm going to try and do some sort of a slideshow to kind of do almost what I did with this podcast and just show our 10 years of everything. We do awards, announce like Hot for the Holidays, which, again, that's another thing we'll announce soon. And then that'll be when we actually – so since the open changed, we usually did like a post-open party. That's going to serve as that this year. We'll do another spring formal instead of like not formal but social. Instead of like the after the open party, I'll make an excuse to get together. But this will serve as that because I'm not going to have it after the open party and then a week later turn around and throw a 350 person wedding essentially. But mark your calendars, guys. December 13th. I believe they're Fridays when we do those, but more details will be coming down the pipeline.
Yeah, Friday. That's right.
Yeah. But guys, get signed up for the Open. It's going to be fun. We'll make it fun, even though it's 2 in a year. Remember, we will not have a spring Open this year, though. So a lot of people have been asking that.
The next one.
Yeah, the next one will be in a year after this. So get it in, have fun. Keep getting those Open years in. Chain them together. See you guys next time.